Sergeant Arms will please secure the chamber doors. Members, please take your seats. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. President,
All right, Senators, we are very pleased to have Reverend Gloria Savoy from the Zion Baptist Church in Welcome, Maryland, guest of the distinguished senator from the 28th District. Senators, please rise for the invocation.
Mr. President, and all that are assembled here this morning, I do greet you in love. I thank you for this opportunity to offer up this invocation. Let us pray. Lord God, we come before your presence, lifting up supplications, knowing that through you all things are possible. We are asking that you will lead and guide this body of the Maryland Senate. Help them to make the necessary decisions that will have a major impact on the citizens of Maryland. Give this body the wisdom, knowledge, love, and compassion needed to make their decisions. Remind them of their commitment to the voters and that so many are relying on them. We ask that you will join them together in unity to do the work that has been established for their hands. You, Lord, are the one that can bring unity in difficult situations. We are pleading that you grant a humble heart of willingness to seek unity. Lord God, we know that much is happening not only in the state of Maryland, but also in the nation and the world. So give them the heart to know that these things have an impact on their lives and families as well. So Lord, we ask that you will grant them peace as they do their work daily. Much is before them daily, so many issues and circumstances, but Lord, you are able to be with them through them all. Help them to be used to bring about reconciliation whenever possible. We thank you, Lord, for the work that they have done already, and we are thanking you in advance for the work that they are going to do, relying on you as their guide. Lord, as they come together, let them to be able to work the processes and decisions, and knowing that they may not be of the same mindset, but you, Lord, are able to change minds to recognize the best action for the people. Lord, continue to bring to their mind that this is not about popularity, but about households, workplaces, children, justice, and the good for all. Cover them with your wings of safety so that they will not suffer any hurt, harm, or danger. Give them liberty to be able to come and go as necessary. I pray that you will honor this prayer according to your will and your way. And it is in the Lord's name that we have prayed. Amen.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 28th District.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senators, colleagues, I'd just like you to join me in welcoming Reverend Savoy, Pastor Savoy. She grew up in Charles County, baptized in Zion Baptist Church at the age of 10, active in the conference, and I must say, she made history this past December when she became the first female pastor of Zion Baptist Church. Zion Baptist Church has been around since, 130 years. And so, congratulations, Pastor Savoy. I've been to Zion many times. I went to the retirement ceremony for the longtime Pastor Thorpe, and we spoke there. I just want you to congratulate and have my colleagues congratulate Pastor Savoy and ask that her prayer and remarks be journalized.
Thank you, Senator. Without objection, we will certainly journalize the pastor's invocation this morning and thank her for her work in the community as well as her faith leadership. Have all members recorded their presence in the chamber? If so, the clerk will take the call. With 43 members in the chamber and a quorum being present, the Senate of Maryland is now in session. Senators, we are very, very pleased today to have, it is Arbor Day, so if we could actually bring our guests up from DNR and our inspectors and folks who are helping to make sure our tree canopy is as effectively covered as, or protected, I guess that is. Chair recognizes the senator from District 1.
Thank you, Mr. President. Ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, it's my privilege today to introduce a tree farmer of the year in the state of Maryland. And by the way, Garrett County's had quite a few of these over the years. We're here to recognize Tim Cole, who's the Tree Farmer of the Year. His tree farm's actually just a few miles out of my hometown where I live today. And other than being the Tree Farmer of the state of Maryland, I'm speaking fast, Mr. President. Tim's been recognized by the Northeastern Regional for being in 2022 as being the Inspector of the Year, which includes all the states along the East Coast from Maryland up to Maine. So he's not just in Maryland, but all over. So we have a resolution. You also have on your desk a rosebud. I ask you to take it home and plant it. I know some of you have because you sent me pictures of the first ones you got that are really growing. So keep it up, help out the environment, all these bills we're passing down here. Do your part, plant a tree.
Plant the
So
tree.
I have a resolution I'd ask to be read, Mr. President.
The clerk will read the resolution in full.
Be it hereby known to all that the Senate of Maryland offers its sincerest congratulations to Timothy Cole in recognition of being honored on Arbor Day as the 2022 Northern Regional and Maryland State Tree Farm Inspector of the Year. Thank you for your outstanding dedication in protecting the trees, forest, and natural beauty of our state. The entire membership extends its best wishes on this memorable occasion and directs this resolution be presented on this 6th day of April 2022.
The clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? If so, the clerk will take the call. To our arborists here with us today, our inspectors, our tree farmers, the Senate of Maryland unanimously thanks you for your work and appreciate you on this very special Arbor Day, and thanks you for those beautiful rosebud trees that will be planted across the state of Maryland by our state senators. Thank you all. Congratulations. All right, introductions. Any introductions today? Chair recognizes the senator from the 37th District.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, I would like you to please give a warm welcome to Tom Hutchinson from Dorchester County. He's running for the House of Delegates from Dorchester County, District 37B, so please give him a warm round of applause. Thank you, Mr. President.
Welcome. We welcome you. Chair recognizes the senator from District 1.
Thank you, Mr. President. Ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, it's my privilege again today to introduce an outstanding lady who's been my office manager down here for 15 years of my 16 years in the Senate. Never brought her over here onto the floor. Asked her if she'd like to come over today just to get introduced, get in the record book. Also want to mention my chief of staff who's back in the mountains because she can't afford to come down here and stay during the week. So it makes it a little more difficult. I'll get into that Thursday when I make another talk here. I'd like to introduce Victoria Clark, who's done a tremendous job. No interns this year, no help in the office. She handled it all herself.
Wow.
She's done a great job.
Wow.
Give her a warm thanks.
We deeply appreciate you. I know the senator does too. That's for sure. That's for sure. Excellent. Chair recognizes the senator from 27th District.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, as we continue to do our work here in Annapolis, and as we definitely continue to work toward the blueprint for Maryland, we recognize our educators on a regular basis, and I just want to remind us all that this week is National Assistant Principals Week. As we know, running of schools is not an easy task. So if you would, put your hands together to help us congratulate those assistant principals that are in the schools throughout the state of Maryland. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator. Any other introductions? If not, so we consider the reading of the journal from the prior legislative day. Oh, it looks like we do. Chair recognizes the senator from the 37th. Oh, of course, our pages, yes.
Our pages. Thank you very much, Mr. President. Yes, Senators, we do have pages with us again today, so we're very pleased to have these young people returning for their last week of session. So if you all would come out on the floor and just wave, and once I go through all of your names, we will welcome you back. So from Montgomery County, District 15, Clarksburg High School, Nathaniel Eck. Camille Lorelou from Montgomery County, District 16, Walter Johnson High School. Paris Newland, Cecil County, District 35A, Elkton High School. Ryland Sachs from Baltimore County, District 34B, Notre Dame Preparatory School, and Christian Thomas from Baltimore County District 6, Eastern Technical High School. Please give them a warm welcome and
Welcome
thank
back,
you.
welcome back.
Thank you, students, for being with us today. We know you're going to learn a lot, and it's always good to be here when the energy's high. Thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you so much, Senator. Thank you, Pages. We appreciate you. Thank you. All right, look, we got a lot of work to do. We are going to be efficient today. That's the goal. We'll see if it actually plays out. So let's go ahead and start with the Committee on Education, Health, Environmental Affairs. This is report number 52. Clerk will read the first bill.
Report of the Committee on Education, Health, and Environmental Affairs, report number 52, consent calendar number 16.
Chair recognizes the chair of the committee on the consent calendar. Oh, yes, Senator Fabian Arundel on the.
Thank you. These are all local alcohol bills. They were passed unanimously, and there are no amendments. I move the favorable consent calendar.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the favorable report for all bills on the consent calendar. Senators, it's a number of bills, all local. Any bills that senators wish to remove? If not, on the favorable report, any objections? Without objection, the favorable committee report is adopted, and the bills on consent calendar number 16 are ordered passed for third reading. Let's go to calendar number 53. Clerk, read the first bill.
House Bill 22, Delegate Charkoudian, Animal Welfare, Declawing Cats, Prohibited Acts, favorable.
Chair recognizes the vice chair of the committee as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is the exact cross-file of the Senate bill that we passed that would protect our kitties from the cruel practice of declawing. Move the favorable report.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the favorable committee report. Any discussion? If not, all in favor of the report say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The favorable committee report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, House Bill 22 is ordered passed for third reading. Clerk, read the next bill.
House Bill 24, Delegate Lukey, Cybersecurity Scholarship Program, alterations, favorable with one amendment.
Chair recognizes the chair of the committee as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. As amended, the bill expands the Cybersecurity Public Service Scholarship Program. It allows part-time students to apply under specified conditions, increases the number of years an individual may hold an award, and expands positions to fulfill the program's work and teaching obligations. There's one amendment. The amendment requires the Office of Student of Financial Assistance to develop guidelines instead of regulations, clarifying the work obligation of scholarship award recipients who are part-time students. Move adoption of one committee amendment, favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the one committee amendment and the favorable committee report. On the amendment, any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the one committee amendment is adopted. On the amended report, any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the favorable committee report as amended is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, House Bill 24 is hereby ordered passed for third reading. Clerk, read the next bill.
House Bill 55, Delegate Collison, Health Occupations, Nurse Anesthetist Drug Authority, favorable.
Chair recognizes the senator from Baltimore City as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. House Bill 55 is the cross-file of Senate Bill 1011, which provides for nurse anesthetists to expand their drug authority. Currently, nurse anesthetists can prescribe, they can order and administer drugs. This bill designates a license for the nurse anesthetist as an authorized prescriber under the Maryland Pharmacy Act. And they may do it under in the number of circumstances. One, they can only do it in an amount that does not exceed a 10-day supply. Two, they can only do it for an individual for whom the nurse anesthetist has at the time of that they are the nurse anesthetist for them at the time of the prescription, and that there's an established patient relationship. And three, they can only do it in connection with the delivery of anesthesia services. There are no committee amendments, and I ask for a favorable adoption of the favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the favorable committee report. Chair recognizes the senator from the 33rd District.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I have a couple questions for the floor leader, if she would yield.
Appears so. Senator may proceed.
Thank you very much. We had an interesting discussion in the committee on this issue. Could you share with the committee the definition of a relationship between the nurse anesthetist and the client? How in-depth or thorough must that be?
That is a good question. I will need to get back back to you
I'm
on
sorry.
that.
As always,
Sorry.
I know the answers. That's
Yes.
okay.
Oh, it's
And
recorded.
I'll make a few comments,
Thank
Mr.
you.
President. So this is an expansion of nurses
Got it.
being able to prescribe not just anesthesia medicine, but does this bill also allow them to prescribe any other medicine that's allowed under the pharmacy law?
The prescriptive authority is actually rather narrow, and it means the ability to complete a prescription form that they can take to the pharmacist, and they can obtain any other drugs. They would be able to perform, they have the following functions that have to do with anything that's needed for the preoperative experience, the administration of drugs related to surgery, and the management of fluids and intravenous therapy.
Thank you, Senator. That's very thorough. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
So, Mr. President, over the course of this that will soon be 90-day session, there's been a continuing expansion of advanced trained nurses to expand their prescriptive authority. Nurse anesthetist, as we have commonly come to find out, is there for dentists, when I have my wonderful colonoscopy, when you're doing minor surgeries and things, and even in hospitals. This bill expands their ability to prescribe any drug within their scope of practice. My concern, as was expressed by several other members of the committee, that, let me get my thought together, early in the morning, that they don't have the background experience and training. And that's one of my concerns. Yes, there are some limitations, 10 days worth of supply and things of that nature, but they could prescribe almost anything in the pharmaceutical world that they've been authorized to under this bill. It is a conscious expansion under 3 or 4 different bills. I find it uncomfortable because of the lack of specific training. We know that our pharmacists are the smartest medical group I have ever met. When you go to the Maryland Pharmacy School, these are the best and the brightest, and when they get out of pharmacy school, they get paid for that because they have a great deal of responsibility in their hands. I think this expansion is a little too far. Would recommend a red vote on this favorable report. Would ask for a recorded roll call.
Just
All right.
on the favorable.
Senator, hold on just
Oh,
one
sorry.
moment. Are there any senators who have not yet spoken who wish to speak? If not, Chair, recognize the floor leader.
Thank you. And again, sorry for the imprecision in my answer last time when you asked it. Yes, it allows them to prescribe a full range of drugs, but again, note the limits that it's only a 10-day supply. Additionally, if any nurse is given the authority to prescribe pharmaceuticals, it should be a nurse anesthetist. They are already well acquainted with utilizing chemicals and pharmaceutical products. And again, they are specifically licensed by the Board of Nursing to be able to do this. So I ask for a favorable committee report. Thank you.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of again, the favorable committee report. Senators requested a roll call vote. Any further discussion? If,
Mr. President,
yes, Chair
can
recognizes
I ask
the
the
Senator
floor
from Baltimore
leader,
County. Senator may
the-
proceed.
does MedChi
Yes, sponsor, yes.
back this?
Absolutely.
Okay, and I also have to say that you don't be a nurse and just all of a sudden start handing out anesthesia medicines. You have to go to school for like 3 or 4 more years to get that. So this is a good bill. And I say vote green.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay, on the bill, on the favorable report,
Mr. President.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 12th District.
Just a minor correction, maybe it's not minor, but a correction for the record. MedChi does oppose this bill. There's testimony in the bill folder from February 1st, 2022, concludes with MedChi opposes House Bill 55.
All right.
They oppose House Bill 55.
Okay, all right. On the favorable report, Chair recognizes the minority whip.
I wonder if I could ask the gentleman from Howard County that just spoke a question regarding scope of practice.
All right.
currently?
Will the senator yield to a question? Appears so. Senator may proceed.
Currently, nurse anesthetists are involved in the process of putting somebody under, correct? They can do that now.
Right.
But what this bill is doing is allowing them to prescribe up to 10 days of any controlled dangerous substance?
Of any, right, if they would have prescribing authority, they would be able to prescribe any substance, including opioids and other substances, for up to 10 days.
And I guess, conscious of protocol, I think I should ask the floor leader the next question. Thank you, Mr. President, if I
Senator
may.
may proceed.
Yes.
Thank you. Could I ask, I was trying to look through the testimony here quickly. What was the urgency of needing nurse anesthetists to prescribe opioids or other type, like powerful allergy medication? I'm trying to think of the different medications that somebody would prescribe. I'm assuming this is going to happen post-surgery. Is this so that they can prescribe things post-surgery?
In general, as you have noted, that we are expanding the authority or the ability of a number of healthcare providers to provide needed services. So you know that there are regions where we don't have physicians, we don't have individuals that are able to prescribe, and so we are just allowing for more people who are medically trained, who have detailed experience, particularly in this case of a nurse anesthetist, to be able to prescribe in the state of Maryland, but again, under our Pharmaceutical Act.
Okay, so let me do a follow-up then. But this bill is not simply allowing them to prescribe drugs that might be in direct relation to the impacts of anesthesia or that sort of thing. This is allowing them just to, prescribe pretty much anything. Correct?
Yeah, and to do it preoperatively. So the testimony, which I now have pulled up, says that they can do it preoperatively, operatively, and postoperatively. So it is very much centered around needed prescriptions around surgery.
Okay. But it's not restricted to it, correct?
No, it's not restricted.
Okay, thank you for your answers. Mr. President, I was looking at this, and it seems like there's a lot of concern from the medical community, and I'm vaguely familiar with scope of practice fights. I know that's the Education, Health, Environmental Affairs. They get to spend a lot of time on that. It seems like this was a pretty close vote in committee. I think at this late date, I would suggest that we maybe reject this. I think this is a step too far. If you told me it was going to be narrowly tailored to the things that a nurse anesthetist would be doing, I could understand it, but this seems like it's very broad. So I'd urge the body to resist this bill and vote red.
All right, on the report, Chair recognizes the senator from the 37th District.
Thank you very much. Would the floor leader yield for a question?
Senator may proceed.
Yes, please.
Yes. Do you know if there is additional professional certification requirement for nurse anesthetists who would have prescriptive authority?
Yes, they do have, thank you for that question. They do have additional certification that's required under the nursing board.
And they are required to do additional training so that they understand completely not only the medications related to pre-anesthesia, but the follow-up and recovery period as well. Is that correct?
That is absolutely correct. In addition to the training that they already receive as a part of their RN training, yes, that is correct.
So there are a lot of checks and balances, not only with registration and licensure here in our state, but there are a number of other professional credentialing and qualifications to make sure that those nurses who practice anesthesia and have the opportunity to expand that just surrounding the anesthesia experience pre and post-operatively are actually learning more about that and have to maintain that certification at a professional level, correct?
Correct.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator. All right, Chair recognizes, let's see, do senators who have not yet spoken in the 36th District?
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Just the floor leader would yield for a question to follow
Senator
up
may
on
proceed.
one of her responses. You had mentioned that part of the reasoning for this bill was the lack of physicians that were not able to be available to make these prescriptions, but yet, again, the physicians are against this bill. So,
Well, you know, some physicians were against dry needling, and many people, you know, on this side voted for that. And, you know, have always been parties that are against the expansion of others who can do their work. So
Right.
I don't know that yeah, I think it's more of a scope of practice thing.
Okay.
But you're correct in that.
that they were
that
against it.
that's-
And
yeah.
one of their concerns was that the physician could be sued or held responsible for any bad outcomes from the surgical procedure. Therefore, the physicians will want to write any prescriptions that may affect the outcome. So how did the committee address those concerns from the physicians about liability moving forward?
I would, we didn't specifically address that because those concerns are already addressed. Nurse practitioners can write prescriptions. There are a number of others that are already able to write prescriptions. We did not really see the specific concern there as being one that we needed to codify or address in this bill.
Okay, so for malpractice issues, can the nurse be sued then?
Hold on for a second. I'll have to get back to you on that. I will defer to the good senator.
Yielding, Senator wishes to yield to the senator from the 37th.
Thank you. All nurses who practice carry malpractice insurance. It's very expensive, as is with other specialties. And yes, they can be sued, and that's why they carry that malpractice insurance.
And do you think if we give them this authority that their malpractice insurance actually could rise as a result of having expanded capabilities?
In my experience, it goes up with the cost of living sometimes,
Right.
but I don't think, and we might be able to check with the testimony, very few nurses get sued, actually, if you look at the statistics, and we would need to have some more statistics on that, but I
have
think that's been my experience and understanding.
Okay, all right, well, thank you very much, Senator, and Floor Leader, I appreciate your responses, excuse me, as well. I
On the
just have-
report, Senator may proceed.
Just, thank you, Mr. President. Just have the same concerns that this might be a little bit of an overreach on something that, again, if the physicians came forward and said this was necessary because of their workload or what they were trying to accomplish and couldn't be with the patients to prescribe what I would think it would be a very important prescription post-surgery, that would be one thing. But just because we're looking to expand practices, I think this has crossed the line a bit, Mr. President. It's not, doesn't seem to be necessary, doesn't seem to be asked for by the physicians, and I again would urge a red vote on this.
All right. Let's hear from the sponsor of the bill.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. Just for the record, MedChi withdrew the opposition with amendments. And this is a good bill. This is something that nurse anesthetists can do. And as far as being sued, doctors can be sued too. And I know personally some nurse anesthetists, and my sister just had surgery, and they created a great relationship with my sister when she had the surgery. They prescribed the right medications for her. She came out of the surgery beautifully, and this is a good bill. Please vote green.
All right. On the report, Chair recognizes the senator from the 37th.
Thank you. I would just like to say that from my experience, and I think we do have a lot of testimony from the Maryland Society of Anesthesiologists, and when nurses are practicing, they do have a strong component of working very closely and getting to know that patient from the patient relationship. And that's part of, I guess, the magic of nursing that I would offer. Nurses have been looking for expanded practice for a number of years, but Mr. President, through the pandemic, we saw that there was a dire shortage in many places, not only around the country, but here in Maryland. And that's one of the reasons why nurses are continuing to get further education and clinical experience to be able to be proficient, safe, and provide high-quality care to our citizens. Thank you. And I would vote green.
All right, thank you, Senator. There went our efficiency. Chair recognizes the minority leader.
Yeah, I'm just trying to understand the conversation. I heard the sponsor of the bill, or the Senate version of it, say that her sister had a great experience. They prescribed the medication and so forth. I thought that's what this bill was doing, was allowing them to prescribe. I didn't know they could currently prescribe and have a great environment.
I didn't say anything
Well, hold on,
about...
Senator. On the report. All right, let's relax. We got a lot of work to do, folks. All right. Chair recognizes the senator from District 6.
Just real quick, Mr. President. And it was stated that the MedChi now with an amendment does approve this. And I'm wondering if this was the part it said to make matters worse. Under the bill, a CRNA can write a prescription without approval of a physician. And that's can be up to a period of 10 days. So I'm just wondering, is that part of the amendment or not? Thank you, Mr. President.
All right, let's hear from the senator from the 34th District.
Mr. President, I'm going to vote based upon the representation that MedChi now supports this with the amendment. So if there's anybody that, if I'm relying that is in fact where we stand right now, if anybody can confirm that, but.
Let's, if the senator would yield to the chair of the committee.
Thank you.
Senator may proceed.
I've got a copy of the file, the written testimony. MedChi does not oppose it. I don't see a letter of support, but I think they withdrew after the House amended the original House version. The anesthesiologists do not oppose the bill. Okay. So the medical community, the licensed medical community does not oppose the bill. The only opposition in the written file was from Right to Life.
Thank you.
All right. Any further discussion on the report? Do we get some clarity? If not, there was a roll call requested. The clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 29 votes in the affirmative, the favorable committee report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, House Bill 55 is hereby ordered passed for third reading. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 139, Delegate Lukey, Correctional Education, Juvenile Services, Education Program, and Correction Education Teachers, favorable.
Chair recognizes the chair of the committee as the floor leader.
Mr. President, this simply reclassifies employees working as teachers in the juvenile service education and under Maryland Department of Labor. It includes that. It will now include them under the state personnel management system. There are no amendments. Move adoption of favorable committee report.
All right, floor leader moves for the adoption of the favorable committee report. Any discussion? Any objections to the report? Without objection, the favorable committee report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, House Bill 139 is hereby ordered passed for third reading. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 191, Delegate Lehman, Department of Agriculture, Spay-Neuter Fund, Extension and Report, favorable.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 12th District as floor leader.
Sure, thank you, Mr. President. House Bill 191 is substantively identical to Senate Bill 206 as unanimously passed by the Senate, although it's not technically a cross-file. The bill extends the termination date for the Spay and Neuter Fund within the Maryland Department of Agriculture by 10 years from September 30th, 2022 to September 30th, 2032. The bill also requires the department report certain information related to the fund to the General Assembly on or before October 1st of this year. There are no committee amendments. Move the adoption of the favorable committee report.
All right, floor leader moves for the adoption of the favorable committee report. On the report, any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the favorable committee report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, House Bill 191 is hereby ordered passed for third reading. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 854, Delegate Wilkins, Alcoholic Beverages, Maryland Alcohol Manufacturing and Promotion, favorable with one amendment.
Chair recognizes the senator from Anne Arundel as floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is almost identical to Senate Bill 698. There was a reference correction in Section 7. It passed unanimously. I move the amendment and the favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the one committee amendment and the favorable committee report. Any discussion on the amendment? Any objections to the amendment? Without objection, the one committee amendment is adopted. Question now is on the amended report. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the amended committee report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, House Bill 854 is hereby ordered passed for third reading. Clerk, read the next bill.
House Bill 1253, Delegate Wilson, Alcohol and Tobacco Commission, clarifications, favorable.
Chair recognizes Senator from Anne Arundel as the floor leader.
Thank you. House Bill 1253 basically clarifies what the executive director can do as far as a MOU, and also has some corrections back to the 2019 original bill. I would move the favorable report. Thank you.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the favorable committee report. On the report, any discussion? If not, all in favor of the report say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The favorable committee report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, House Bill 1253 is hereby ordered passed for third reading. All right, let's take up the Senate version. This is report number 54. Clerk will read the bill.
Senate Bill 1011, Senator Klossmeyer, Health Occupations, Nurse Anesthetist, Drug Authority, favorable.
Chair recognizes the senator from Baltimore City as the floor leader.
Hello, Mr. President. This is the Senate cross-file of House Bill 55, a Health Occupations Nurse Anesthetist. There were, as in the other one, there are no committee amendments, and so I ask for adoption of a favorable committee report. Interestingly, this bill was passed unanimously by the committee.
All right. On the report, the floor leaders move for the adoption of the favorable report. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the favorable committee report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 1011 is hereby ordered printed for third reading. All right. This must be a cross-file here. Report 55. Clerk, read the bill.
Senate Bill 1006, Senator Gazzoni, Hemp Farm Program, use of hemp and hemp products and consumable products, favorable with one amendment.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 33rd as the floor leader.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. It's always interesting to find out why a bill comes to us and what it's trying to resolve. This has to do with hemp farming program, the use of hemp and hemp products and consumable products. So the backstory is hemp is becoming a very popular crop for our farmers. And the current procedure is it has to be tested before the crop is harvested. So if the testing lab comes out and finds a couple of plants that they test exceed the allowable percentage of THC, they have to destroy the entire crop. It could be an acre or 2 acres worth of product, and just a real waste of time. This bill is designed to say that the person who produces hemp or a hemp product in accordance with an official program that produces a product of consumable products for sale, before doing so, however, the person must have the hemp or hemp products tested by an independent laboratory to ensure the hemp and hemp product meets applicable safety standards. We don't want this to be confused with cannabis. The total THC concentration of the hemp product does not exceed 1% of the dry weight basis. If the hemp has a THC concentration that exceeds 1.0% on a dry weight basis, the person may include the hemp product in consumable products for sale if the hemp product is diluted to the allowable concentration and retested. It's a way to allow the farmers to move forward and yet protect consumers. There's one committee amendment that strikes language excluding synthetically manufactured cannabinoids from the definition of hemp and replaces references of THC with references to delta-9 THC. Finally, the amendments specify that the final concentration of delta-9 THC in a hemp product must be confirmed by an independent testing laboratory. The bill passed the committee unanimously and requests a favorable motion on the amendment and the bill.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the one committee amendment and the favorable committee report. On the amendment, any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the one committee amendment is adopted. On the report, amended report, any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the favorable committee report as amended is adopted. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 1006 is hereby ordered printed for third reading. All right, we've got some Senate bills out of budget and tax. This is calendar 48. Clerk will read the first bill.
Senate Bill 726, Senator McCray, Transportation, Highway User Revenues, Revenue and Distribution, favorable with 4 amendments.
Chair recognizes the bill sponsor as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senate Bill 726 increases the share of funds from gasoline and motor vehicle revenue account GMVRA that the Department of Transportation must annually provide to local government as highway user revenue grants. Our committee amendments, the First Amendment adds sponsors to make changes to the function and purpose paragraph. The Second Amendment increases the amount of corporate income tax revenue that is distributed to the gasoline and motor vehicle revenue account. This will increase the total amount of HUR distributed to everyone. Mr. President, move favorable on the amendments and on the committee report.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the 4 committee amendments and the favorable committee report. On the amendments, Chair recognizes the minority leader.
Yes, if the floor leader would yield.
Senator may proceed.
It sounds like a great bill. Can you just kind of give us a general sense of how much more locals will receive? I know that's been an issue, and I think this sounds like it's going to be addressing it. And then secondly, it also sounds like this is just distributing where the tax money is. It's not necessarily raising new revenues.
Yep, nope, great question, Senator. In reference to the HUR bill, there are 3 different categories. You have Baltimore City, which takes care of their own state roads and their local roads, which is 12.2. You have our counties, which is 4.8, and you have our municipalities, which will drive up to 3%, and that's going from where we currently are at this moment.
All right, any further discussion on the amendments? If not, all in favor of the amendment say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The 4 committee amendments are adopted. Question now on the amended report. Any discussion? Any objections to the report? Without objection, the favorable committee report as amended is adopted. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 726 is hereby ordered printed for third reader. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 806, Senator King, Child Care Providers and Employees Bonuses, favorable with 1 amendment.
Chair recognizes the bill sponsor as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senate Bill 806, as amended, establishes a distribution plan for the fiscal 2023 appropriation of $16 million to the Maryland State Department of Education for specified bonuses for child care providers and employees. Committee amendments, there's 1 amendment that adds various criteria to receive the bonuses, as well as verification that the criteria were met. I move adoption of the amendment and favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the 1 committee amendment and the favorable committee report. On the amendment, Chair recognizes the minority whip.
Mr. President, could I ask the floor leader a question on this bill?
Floor, appears so. Senator may proceed.
Thank you. I think it's great we're trying to work to help our child care providers. So the bonus, could you talk about what the bonuses, how they get them?
They have to, there's certain criteria that they have to fill out in order to get that. They apply through the Maryland Department of Education.
So the providers apply and they can get bonuses for their employees? Is
Yes.
that, okay. Is that coming out of, that's coming out of existing funds, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. President.
All right, thank you, Senator. On the amendment, any further discussion? Are there any objections to the amendment? Without objection, the 1 committee amendment is adopted. On the amended report, any discussion? Any objections to the report? If not, without objection, the favorable committee report as amended is adopted. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 806 is hereby ordered printed for third reading. Let's stick with budget and tax. This is report number 49. Clerk will read the first bill.
House Bill 27, Delegate Lukey, Historic Revitalization and Enterprise Zone Tax Credits, Alterations and Eligibility, favorable with 2 amendments.
Chair recognizes the Senator from Baltimore City as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. House Bill 27 alters the Historic Revitalization Tax Credit Program by extending through fiscal 2031 determination date of the program, requiring the governor to provide a minimum appropriation to the program and increasing the maximum value of the commercial tax credit. The bill also creates an enhanced enterprise zone property tax credit for certain properties that can be claimed over a 13-year period. The bill is similar to Senate Bill 289. The First Amendment increases to $22 million, the amount the governor must appropriate each year to the program. The Second Amendment increases $4 million, the amount the governor must appropriate to each year to the small commercial project program. These funding levels are consistent with Senate Bill 289. Move adoption of the committee report, Mr. President.
Floor Leader moves for the adoption of the 2 committee amendments and the favorable committee report. On the amendments, any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the 2 committee amendments are adopted. On the favorable report as amended, any discussion? Any objections to the report? Without objection, the favorable committee report as amended is adopted. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, House Bill 27 is hereby ordered passed for third reading. Clerk, read the next bill.
House Bill 69, Delegate Ampry, State Department of Assessments and Taxation, Real Property Assessments and Appeals, favorable with 2 amendments.
Chair recognizes Senator from Montgomery County. The floor is
Thank you, Mr. President. House Bill 69 is the cross-file bill to Senate Bill 247, which passed the Senate unanimously. As amended, it is now substantively identical. It alters specified notification and appeal processes used by the State Department of Assessments and Taxation. Committee amendments, there are 2 amendments. The first is technical, and the second adds the requirement for an appeals authority to notify counties and municipalities of changes in commercial property value and gives the local governments 90 days to appeal that change. I move adoption of the amendments and the favorable committee report.
Floor Leader moves for the adoption of the 2 committee amendments and the favorable committee report. On the amendments, any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the 2 committee amendments are adopted. On the amended report, any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the amended report is adopted. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, House Bill 69 is hereby ordered passed for third reading. Clerk, read the next bill.
House Bill 89, Delegate Queen, State Department of Education, Child Care Stabilization Grants, favorable with 1 amendment. This is an emergency bill.
Chair recognizes Senator from Montgomery County as the floor leader.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. As amended, this is in the same posture as Senate Bill 480 that passed unanimously out of this chamber. It just prioritizes stabilization grants for child care centers. I would move I'd move the amendments and the adoption of the favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the amendment and the favorable report. On the amendment, any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the 1 committee amendment is adopted. On the amended report, any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the favorable report as amended is adopted. Any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, House Bill 89 is hereby ordered passed for third reading. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 172, Delegate Lukey, Income Tax Subtraction Modification, Union Dues, favorable with 1 amendment.
Chair recognizes the Vice Chair of the committee as the floor leader.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. This is another tax cut for working people. We've done a lot this session. This is another effort to cut taxes for working people. Until 2018, union dues were deductible from both federal taxes and state taxes. In the Tax Act of 2017 at the federal level, that deduction was eliminated because we piggyback on the federal system. That means that union workers have not been able to have this tax deduction in Maryland. The federal law will restore the deduction of union dues in 2026. Basically, all this bill does is restore it in Maryland for our state income tax between now and 2026, when it'll come back at the federal level, and we'll piggyback on it. There's 1 amendment. As the bill came in to the House, it provided for reduction of union dues across the board. The House limited that to $300. The committee amendment restores it to its original posture in that regard. Move the amendment and the favorable report.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the 1 committee amendment, the favorable committee report. On the amendment, Chair recognizes the minority leader.
Yeah, just a quick question.
Senator may proceed.
What is the nexus for the policy for the state to give a tax credit for union dues?
We have an income tax law, and we can decide what deductions we want.
Well, I understand that. We can
Okay.
do anything. But I'm just saying, what is the nexus? Why? Typically, we give tax credits to veterans, think because...
Oh, I see. Why would you make union dues deductible? Oh, and why were they deductible for decades at the federal level and the state level, and why will they be deductible again starting in 2026 at the federal level? They're deductible just like legal fees are for someone who is doing negotiations, just like when a sports figure is negotiating or an entertainer is negotiating a contract. What they pay their agent, they can deduct. This is working people who have an agent through their union. They can deduct the expenses related to their job.
Okay. I'd just like to look at this. I'm going to ask to lay this over under the rules.
Senator, the motion's in order, but the layover is for an hour. The bill will be laid over for an hour. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 285, Delegate D. Jones. Property tax credit, disabled law enforcement officers and rescue workers, federal police and criminal investigators, favorable with 2 amendments.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 27th District as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, House Bill 285, as amended, is identical to Senate Bill 983, as passed by the Senate unanimously. It authorizes local governments to define who is a law enforcement officer or rescue worker for purposes of a property tax credit for a disabled law enforcement officer or rescue worker or surviving spouse of cohabitant. Committee amendments, there were 2. The first was technical, the second conforms the bill to the Senate bill. Move adoption of the amendments and favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the 2 committee amendments and the favorable committee report. On the amendments, any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the 2 committee amendments are adopted. On the amended report, any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the amended report is adopted. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, House Bill 285 is ordered passed for 3rd reading. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 325, Delegate D. Barnes. State procurement payment practices, favorable with 2 amendments.
Chair recognizes the Vice Chair of the Committee.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is similar to Senate Bill 250, basically designed to speed up payment of contractors. We've had a big problem in the state with state contractors not being paid quickly enough. So we passed a bill that moved up when they need to be paid or get interest and supported a study that's going on to fix the system. This bill is similar to that, but it reduced from 45 days to 37 days the time after which interest needs to be paid, and it did not include endorsement of the study to overhaul the system. So we amended the bill to get it back to the posture on the study that we had in the Senate bill. We agreed with the House on going to 37 days. I move the amendments and the favorable report.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the 2 committee amendments and the favorable committee report. On the amendments, any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the 2 committee amendments are adopted. Question now on the amended report. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the favorable committee report as amended is adopted. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, House Bill 325 is ordered passed for 3rd reading. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 680, Baltimore County delegation, Baltimore County property tax credit, supermarkets, favorable.
Chair recognizes the senator from Baltimore County as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is a great bill, by the way. This is a Baltimore County local bill, and it's a property tax for supermarkets. Let me tell you, everybody should be doing this. House Bill 680 authorized Baltimore County to grant a property tax credit for personal property owned by supermarkets that complete eligible construction and is located in a food desert, which we have a lot of them in the state. In retail incentive areas, Baltimore County must designate which constitutes a food desert retail incentive area for a purpose of tax credit. There is no amendments. See, that's how good this bill is. And it's unanimously 13-0. I move adoption of a favorable report. Thank you, Mr. President.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the favorable committee report. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the favorable committee report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, House Bill 680 is hereby ordered passed for 3rd reading. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 744, Delegate Learman, State Retirement and Pension System, Administration, Clarifications, and Corrections, favorable with 2 amendments.
Chair recognizes the pensions chair as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, this is our annual kitchen sink bill. It's a joint committee bill that, as amended, clarifies and corrects a couple provisions of state pension law, including repealing an obsolete provision. It establishes immediate vesting for certain heads of certain units of state government. It also directs the Board of Trustees of the State Retirement and Pension System to accept a retirement application that was properly completed but not properly notarized due to the death of the member. We had a pretty stark incident where someone applied, but it had not been notarized before they passed. It requires at least 2 members of the correctional officers' retirement system to transfer prior service from the employee's pension system to CORS as specified. Mr. President, there are 2 committee amendments. The first is technical, and the second adds provisions providing for immediate vesting for an individual who is head of a department, office, or other unit of state government who is appointed by the governor for a fixed term and is in the position on or after June 1st, 2022. I move the 2 committee amendments and the adoption of the favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the 2 committee amendments and the favorable committee report. On a related issue, we just got the compensation study back of the pensions, and let's just say they better be the best performing pension group in the country based on these new salaries. It is pretty unbelievable. So On the two amendments, any discussion? If not, all in favor of the amendment say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The two committee amendments are adopted. On the amended report, any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the favorable committee report as amended is adopted. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, House Bill 744 is ordered passed for third reading. Clerk, read the next bill.
House Bill 763, Delegate Bridges, Correctional Officers Retirement System, membership favorable with one amendment.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 27th as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, House Bill 763, as amended, makes specified employees of the Department of Juvenile Services members of the Correctional Officers Retirement System as a condition of their employment. It also allows service credit earned in the employee's pension system to be combined with service credit in CORE's Correctional Officers Retirement System for specified individuals and requires service credit to be combined for specified individuals. There's one amendment. The amendment clarifies that when there's no contribution deficiencies for a member, the employee pension system service shall be transferred and combined in CORE's. Move adoption of the committee report.
The amendment, Senator? Do we have an amendment on this one? Did the senator describe the amendment? Apologize if the chair missed it.
The amendment should be, one second.
No worries.
And move the calendar.
Move to special order to the end of the calendar. Let's just double check it. On the motion, unless the senator is ready.
Mr. President, I mentioned the amendment that was that we brought about in committee. So the amendment clarified that if the pension system contributions, if there were no deficiencies, that when the transfer occurred, that the members could be combined in the core system.
Got
without
it. Perfect.
penalty.
Okay.
So.
Perfect. All right. On the amendment and the favorable report, any discussion on the amendment? If not, all in favor of the amendment say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The one committee amendment is adopted. Question now is on the amended report. Any discussion? Any objections to the report? Without objection, the favorable committee report as amended is adopted. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, House Bill 763 is ordered passed for third reading. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 1100, Delegate Queen, Child Care Providers and Employee Bonuses, favorable with one amendment.
Chair recognizes the senator from Montgomery County as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. House Bill 1100 establishes a distribution plan for the fiscal 2023 appropriation of $16 million to the Maryland State Department of Education, MSDE, for specified bonuses for child care providers and employees. There's one amendment that establishes the distribution for fiscal 2023 instead of fiscal 2024. I move the amendment and the favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the one committee amendment and the favorable committee report. On the amendment, any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the one committee amendment is adopted. On the amended report, any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the amended report is adopted. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, House Bill 1100 is ordered passed for third reading. Clerk, read the next bill.
House Bill 1187, Delegate Anderton, Transportation, Highway User Revenues, Revenue and Distribution, favorable with three amendments.
Chair recognizes the subcommittee chair for transportation as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. House Bill 1187 increases the share of funds from the gasoline motor vehicle revenue account from that Department of Transportation must annually provide to local governments for what we call highway user revenue. The amendment conforms this bill to Senate Bill 726, which you previously heard. The First Amendment makes changes to the purpose and function paragraphs. The Second Amendment increases the amount of corporate income tax revenue that is distributed to the gasoline and motor vehicle revenue account. The Third Amendment phases in an increase to the local shares of highway user revenue. The local shares of highway user revenue increases from 15.6% fiscal year 24, Mr. President, to 20% by fiscal year 2026. The local share will return to 15.6 in fiscal year 2028 and each fiscal year thereafter. Mr. President, if we can move adoption of the committee amendments and the committee report.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the three committee amendments and the favorable committee report. On the amendments, any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the three committee amendments are adopted. Question now is on the amended report. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the amended report is adopted. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, House Bill 1187 is ordered passed for third reading. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 1254, Delegate Wilson, Maryland State Board of Contract Appeals, positions, law clerks, favorable with 2 amendments.
Chair recognizes the senator from Prince George's as the floor leader.
Good morning. Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, House Bill 1254, as amended, adds 3 additional members to the Maryland State Board of Contract Appeals. It also provides for 3 additional staff positions compared with the positions they have in fiscal 2022. The Board of Contract Appeals must employ at least 3 law clerks, including a graduate of the University of Maryland Law School, a graduate of the University of Baltimore Law School, and a graduate of the Howard University School of Law. There are 2 amendments. Amendment number 1 makes technical changes. Amendment number 2 adds the 3 members to the board and specifies that an appeal shall be heard by a panel of not more than 3 members of the board designated by the chair. Mr. President, I move the amendments and the adoption of the favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the 2 amendments in the favorable committee report. On the amendments, any discussion? Any objections to the amendments? Without objection, the 2 committee amendments are adopted. Question now on the amended report. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the favorable committee report as amended is adopted. Any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, House Bill 1254 is hereby ordered passed for third reading. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 1446, Delegate Solomon, Universities at Shady Grove Regional Higher Education Center, Workforce Development Programs funding, favorable with 2 amendments.
Chair recognizes Senator from Montgomery County, of course, as the
Thank
floor
you,
leader.
Mr. President. House Bill 1446, as amended, requires the governor to include a $5 million appropriation in fiscal 2024 for the universities at Shady Grove Regional Higher Education Center to establish or support workforce development programs at the center. Committee amendments, there are 2 amendments. The first is technical. The second makes the requirement applicable only to fiscal 2024 and clarifies that it must be supplemental to other funding provided to the universities at Shady Grove. I move adoption of the amendments and the favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the 2 committee amendments and the favorable committee report. On the amendments, any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the 2 committee amendments are adopted. Question now is on the favorable report as amended. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the favorable committee report as amended is adopted. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, House Bill 1446 is ordered passed for third reading. More budget and tax. Calendar 50. Clerk will read the bill.
House Bill 617, Delegate Licenti, Property Tax Credit for Surviving Spouses of Fallen Service Members, favorable with 1 amendment.
Chair recognizes Senator from the 27th as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, House Bill 617 authorizes counties and municipalities to grant a property tax credit for the county or municipality property tax imposed on the dwelling of a surviving spouse of a fallen service member if the surviving spouse has not remarried and is ineligible for a specified property tax exemption. There was 1 committee amendment that requires the local governments who choose to enact this credit to define who a fallen service member includes. Move adoption of the committee amendment and the favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the 1 committee amendment and the favorable committee report. On the amendment, any discussion? Any objections to the amendment? Without objection, the 1 committee amendment is adopted. Now on the amended report, any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the amended report is adopted. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, House Bill 617 is hereby ordered passed for third reading. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 993, Delegate Ebersol, Child Care Capital Support Revolving Loan Fund established, favorable with 1 amendment.
Chair recognizes Senator from Montgomery County as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. House Bill 993 establishes a Child Care Capital Support Revolving Loan Fund for the purpose of providing no-interest loans for capital expenses to child care providers who participate in the Child Care Scholarship Program. The fund is a special non-lapsing fund administered by the Department of Commerce with support from the Maryland State Department of Education. There is 1 amendment that strikes the mandated appropriation for fiscal 2024 and 25, leaving only the required $15 million, which is already in the budget for fiscal 2023. I move adoption of the amendment and the favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the 1 committee amendment and the favorable committee report. On the amendment, any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the one committee amendment is adopted. On the amended report, any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the amended report is adopted. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, House Bill 993 is hereby ordered passed for third reading. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 1196, Delegate C Branch, Tax Sales Alternative Collection Programs, favorable with 2 amendments.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 37th District as the floor leader.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Ladies and gentlemen, if you remember, we've been doing a lot of work on tax sales over the past number of years, and that work group has continued to provide some modifications to the existing tax sale process based on the issues that were, I guess, highlighted through the pandemic. So House Bill 1196, as amended, does 3 things. First, it permanently authorizes a governing body of a county or municipality withhold from tax sale owner-occupied residential property that meets objective criteria adopted by that governing body. The existing authorization in the law ends on June 30th, 2023, so this will be a change. The bill also authorizes a governing body or county or municipality to withhold from tax sale a residential property or a property owned by a not-for-profit organization if that property is enrolled in a payment program established by law by the county or municipality for the payment of taxes in arrears. Heretofore, we have not had such a payment plan, and it's determined that this would be a useful tool. If a county or municipality does withhold such a property from sale, it must arrange for payment to the state of any property taxes in arrears on that property. The third change is the bill authorizes counties and municipalities to cancel or postpone a tax sale during a state of emergency that is declared by the governor or a county or a municipality. There are 2 amendments. The first amendment just makes technical changes, and the second amendment clarifies that the owner-occupied residential property withheld from the tax sale meets the objective criteria that are established by that municipality or county government. I would move the adoption of the committee report.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the 2 amendments as well. Correct.
2 amendments.
And the favorable committee report. On the amendments, any discussion? Any objections to the 2 committee amendments? Without objection, the committee amendments are adopted. Question now on the amended report. Any discussion? Any objections on the report? Without objection, the favorable committee report as amended is adopted. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, House Bill 1196 is hereby ordered passed for third reading. Let's just get these across so we can start scheduling. This is just a quick rules report. Report 7, clerk will read the bills.
House Bill 372, Delegate Clippinger, Baltimore City Board of License Commissioners, licensee hours of operation and enforcement, re-referred to EHE.
Majority Leader moves so be considered the reading of the bills. Senators, these are bills were voted on the Rules Committee and will be re-referred to the appropriate standing committees. Let's go back to Budget and Tax with a Senate bill here, report number 51.
Senate Bill 919, Senator King, Child Care Capital Support Revolving Loan Fund established, favorable with 3 amendments.
Chair recognizes the bill sponsor as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senate Bill 919, as amended, establishes a Child Care Capital Support Revolving Loan Fund for the purpose of providing no-interest loans for capital expenses to child care providers who participate in the Child Care Scholarship Program. The Department of Commerce manages the fund and works with MSDE. The bill requires a $15 million appropriation to the fund, which is provided in the fiscal 2023 budget. There are 3 committee amendments. The first is technical. The second requires the Department of Commerce to administer the fund and application procedures and priorities. The third amendment strikes the requirement for funding in fiscal 2024 and 25. I move adoption of the amendments and the favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the 3 committee amendments and the favorable committee report. On the amendments, any discussion? Any objection to the amendments? Without objection, the 3 committee amendments are adopted. Question now is on the amended report. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the favorable committee report as amended is adopted. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 919 is hereby ordered printed for third reading. Let's head to Finance. This is calendar 39. Clerk will read the bill.
Senate Bill 868, Senator Lee, Developmental Disabilities Administration Self-Directed Services, Self-Direction Act of 2022, favorable with 2 amendments.
Chair recognizes the Vice Chair of the Committee.
Thank you, Mr. President. As amended, Senate Bill 868 is identical to House Bill 1020, which I'll describe in a little while. Senate Bill 868 requires the Developmental Disabilities Administration, in consultation with stakeholders, to establish and provide training materials to coordinators of community services on self-directed services. As part of developing a person-centered plan of service, a CCS must educate the recipient on the availability of all models of services available, including self-directed services. By January 1st, 2023, DDA must submit to the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services an amendment to the Community Pathways Waiver that includes overnight support requirements by January 1st, 2023, and annually until January 1st, 2026. DDA must report to the General Assembly on the progress in implementing the requirements of the bill, and to the extent authorized, DDA must leverage federal funding to pay for the services established under the bill. Mr. President, Amendment number 1 is technical. Amendment number 2 clarifies that certain services can be family directed, alters certain definitions, provides that self-directed services provided by DDA shall be provided within the limits of the individual's approved annual budget, reduces the required hours of monthly support broker services from 40 to 30, and requires the Maryland Department of Health to report on the utilization of services under the bill and the fiscal impact of providing those services. There was no opposition at the committee hearing. The bill passed unanimously. I move the amendments and adoption of favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the 2 committee amendments and the favorable committee report. On the amendments, any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the 2 committee amendments are adopted. The question now is on the amended report. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the amended report is adopted. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 868 is hereby ordered printed for 3rd reading. Let's stay with finance here. Calendar 40. Clerk will read the bill.
House Bill 305, Delegate Kerr, Financial Institutions, Presumption of Property Abandonment, Revisions, favorable with 1 amendment.
Chair recognizes Vice Chair of the Committee. The floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. House Bill 305, which passed the committee unanimously, alters the circumstances under which property held by a banking or financial organization or a business association in the state is presumed to be abandoned. Under the bill, a return mail trigger is adopted, so the property is presumed abandoned 3 years after the later of the date the holder is deemed to no longer have a valid address for the owner of the property, or pursuant to current law, the date the owner has last interacted with the banking or financial organization or business association through certain action. The bill establishes when a property holder is deemed to no longer have a valid address for the owner of the property. If a holder of the property does not send communications to an owner by first-class mail, the holder must attempt to confirm the owner's interest in the property by emailing the owner within 2 years after the owner's last indication of interest in the property. The bill requires attempts to contact the apparent owner by first-class mail when email communications are not effective in reaching the owner. The amendment is corrective. It strikes a provision in the bill that was inadvertently applied to depository institutions. Mr. President, no fiscal impact. There was no opposition to the committee hearing. I move the amendment and the adoption of the favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the 1 committee amendment and the favorable committee report. On the amendment, any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the 1 committee amendment is adopted. Question now is on the amended report. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the amended report is adopted. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, House Bill 305 is hereby ordered passed for 3rd reading. Clerk, read the next bill.
House Bill 373, Delegate Resnick, State Post-Mortem Examiners Commission, minimum staffing requirements, favorable.
Chair recognizes the Chair of the Committee, the floor leader.
Thank you. House Bill 373, in response to the backlog in autopsies, requires the Maryland Department of Health to ensure that the number of staff employed by the State Post-Mortem Examiners Commission does not fall to a level that constitutes a Phase 2 violation under the National Association of Medical Examiners. There are no amendments, no opposition at the committee hearing. I move the adoption of the favorable committee report.
Chair moves for the adoption of the favorable committee report. On the report, any discussion? Any objections to the report? Without objection, the favorable committee report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, House Bill 373 is hereby ordered passed for third reading. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 526, Prince George's County and Montgomery County Delegations, Washington Suburban Sanitary Commission, Plumbing and Fuel Gas Services, licenses and penalties, favorable.
Chair recognizes the senator from Montgomery County as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, House Bill 526 is a local Prince George's County, Montgomery County bill that will prohibit a person from providing, attempting to provide, or offering to provide plumbing services and fuel gas services in WSSC jurisdiction without a license. The bill also authorizes WSSC to take disciplinary action and impose specified penalties. There are no amendments, no fiscal impact. Move the adoption of the favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the favorable committee report. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the favorable committee report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, House Bill 526 is hereby ordered passed for third reading. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 527, St. Mary's County Delegation, St. Mary's County Emergency Services applicants, polygraph examination, favorable.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 36th as the floor leader.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. House Bill 527 is a local bill that exempts an applicant for employment as a paramedic or as an emergency medical technician with St. Mary's County or with the St. Mary's County Emergency Communication Center from the prohibition against an employer requiring that an applicant or employee take a polygraph examination. This bill has the support of the St. Mary's County delegation. There are no amendments. There was no opposition at the committee hearing. I move the adoption of the favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the favorable committee report. On the report, any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the favorable committee report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, House Bill 527 is hereby ordered passed for third reading. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 753, Delegate D. Jones, Primary and Secondary Schools Bus Driver Wages Study, favorable with one amendment. This is an emergency bill.
Chair recognizes Chair of the committee as the floor leader.
Thank you. House Bill 753 is an emergency bill that is similar to Senate Bill 421, which passed the Senate. The bill requires an evaluation and report on the possibility of paying higher wages to school bus drivers in the state by July 1, 2022. The bill terminates June 30th, 2023. The amendments conform House Bill 753 to Senate Bill 421. I move the amendment and the adoption of the favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the one committee amendment and the favorable committee report. On the amendment, any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the one committee amendment is adopted. On the amended report, any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the one committee amendment, the favorable report is amended, is adopted. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, House Bill 753 is hereby ordered passed for third reading. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 971, Delegate Kipke, Maryland Medical Assistance Program, Substance Abuse Treatment, Network Adequacy, favorable with two amendments.
Chair recognizes the senator from Baltimore County as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. As amended, House Bill 971 requires the Maryland Department of Health and the Behavioral Health Administration to ensure that the specialty mental health system has an adequate network of providers available to provide substance use disorder treatment for children younger than 18. Amendment number 1 makes changes to the title of the bill. Amendment number 2 includes terminology in the bill that is viewed as more clinically appropriate and makes the bill an emergency measure, and there was no opposition at the committee hearing, and I move the amendments and the adoption of the favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the two committee amendments and the favorable committee report. On the amendments, any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the two committee amendments are adopted. Question now is on the amended report. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the amended report is adopted. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, House Bill 971 is hereby ordered passed for third reading. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 1020, Delegate K. Young, Developmental Disabilities Administration, Self-Directed Services, Self-Direction Act of 2022, favorable.
Chair recognizes the Vice Chair.
Thank you, Mr. President. House Bill 1020 is identical to Senate Bill 868, which I just described literally less than 5 minutes ago, dealing with self-directed services for folks in the developmental disability community. There are no amendments to this bill. Move adoption of the favorable committee report. The vote was unanimous in committee.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the favorable committee report. Any discussion? Any objections to the report? Without objection, the favorable committee report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, House Bill 1020 is ordered passed for third reading. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 1078, Delegate Pena Melnick, Cannabis Regulation, Delta 8 and Delta 10 tetrahydrocannabinol, favorable with one amendment.
That was a good one. Chair recognizes Vice Chair.
Thank you, Mr. President. House Bill 1078 is substantially similar to Senate Bill 788, which passed the Senate unanimously earlier this session. The bill prohibits a person who distributes products containing Delta 8 or Delta 10 THC, including a specified person licensed under the business regulation article, from distributing, purchasing for sale, or selling a product containing Delta 8 or Delta 10 THC to an individual younger than age 21. The bill also requires the Medical Cannabis Commission, in consultation with the Maryland Department of Agriculture and others, to study and make recommendations on the classification and regulation of these particular products. The amendment adds two other groups to the study. Move the amendment adoption. Favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the one committee amendment and the favorable committee report. On the amendment, any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the one committee amendment is adopted. On the favorable committee report as amended, any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the report is adopted. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, House Bill 1078 is hereby ordered passed for third reading. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 1336, Delegate Bridges, Greater Baltimore Transit Governance and Funding Commission, favorable.
Chair recognizes the Senator from Baltimore City as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. House Bill 1336 establishes the Greater Baltimore Transit Governance and Funding Commission. Among other matters, the commission must review the findings of the Baltimore Regional Transit Governance and Funding Study and make recommendations regarding changes to the funding and governance of transit in the Greater Baltimore region. There are no amendments. There was no opposition at the committee hearing, and I move a favorable report for House Bill 1336.
All right, floor leader moves to the adoption of the favorable committee report. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the favorable committee report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, House Bill 1336 is hereby ordered passed for third reading. Sticking with finance, calendar 42, report number 42. Clerk will read the first bill. 42. Oh, I'm sorry. We do have, let's do 42. We'll go, well, we got it up.
House Bill 430, Delegate Kerr, Human Services, Secretary of Aging, qualifications, favorable with one amendment.
House Bill 430 out of finance. Anything? Special order. Why don't we have it? Chair recognizes the chair of the committee.
House Bill 430 as amended is the same as Senate Bill 511, which is under consideration by the Senate. The bill requires an individual appointed as the Secretary of Aging to have specified qualifications, including at least a bachelor's degree. The amendment conforms House Bill 430 to Senate Bill 511. I move the amendment and the adoption of the favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the one committee amendment and the favorable committee report. On the amendment, any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the one committee amendment is adopted. Question now is on the favorable committee report as amended. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the favorable committee report as amended is adopted. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, House Bill 430 is hereby ordered passed for third reading. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 496, Delegate Valderrama, Commission on the Establishment of a Family and Medical Leave Insurance Program, favorable with two amendments.
Chair recognizes the Vice Chair of the committee.
Yes, Mr. President. House Bill 496 as amended is the same as Senate Bill 275 as it passed the General Assembly, which is sitting up on the governor's desk. We had extensive debate on this over the past couple of weeks. The bill establishes the Family Medical Leave Insurance Program and Fund to provide up to 12 weeks of benefits to a covered individual taking leave from employment due to personal and family circumstances, primarily related to serious illness or following the birth or adoption of a child. There are two amendments which conform the House Bill 496 to Senate Bill 275, which we passed. Mr. President, I move the amendments and adoption of favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the two committee amendments and the favorable committee report. On the amendments, any discussion? Any objection to the amendments? Without objection, the two committee amendments. Oh, yes, Chair recognizes the senator from the minority leader on the amendments.
Just a quick question to the floor leader. Yes. Just on the amendments, how it came across. Did they have any of the amendments that we had here that would give us a better impact of the fiscal note? Was that revised?
Okay, just to be clear again, this bill, last week we had a discussion, a motion to concur the bill that came over. There were some changes. Primarily, it had to do with two things. The 15 employees or under, in which employers would no longer have to pay in, and then how we go about establishing the rate. The secretary would do analysis, but this bill is exactly the same as the Senate Bill 275, which we passed last week. It was a motion to concur and then a third reader, so I'm not sure I can add that much more to that.
Just to clarify, this House bill did not come over the way that we sent the Senate bill out.
That's
correct?
true. This
Okay,
particular
that's fine.
bill,
That's all.
came
So
over
we
as a
don't have
commission
fiscal
bill, right? And we took the commission bill and made it look like Senate Bill 275. Correct.
All right. On the amendments, any further discussion? If not, all in favor of the amendments say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The two committee amendments are adopted. Question now is on the favorable report as amended. Any discussion? If not, all in favor of the report say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The favorable committee report as amended is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, House Bill 496 is ordered passed for third reading. Let's go to 41 now. Clerk will read the bill.
Senate Bill 511, Senator Heddleman, Human Services, Secretary of Aging, qualifications favorable.
Chair recognizes the chair of the committee.
Senate Bill 511, looking forward, requires an individual appointed as the Secretary of Aging to have extensive experience with and knowledge of laws, legislation, and regulations related to aging and of programs for aging individuals, to demonstrate a commitment to the missions of both the Federal Older American Act and the Maryland Department of Aging, and hold at least a bachelor's degree. There are no amendments, no opposition at the committee hearing. I move the adoption of the favorable committee report.
All right. Floor leader moves for the adoption of the favorable committee report. Any discussion? Any object? Chair recognizes the President Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mr. President. Would the floor leader yield for a quick question?
Senator may proceed.
Yeah, I was going to ask this when the House bill came up just a few minutes ago, but I was kind of looking at the bill online. Just trying to get a sense of where, I guess, these qualification, I think this is like the second or maybe third qualification bill that we've heard of this session. Can you give me a little background or what we're hoping to accomplish?
Well, to make sure that people who take some jobs have a background in the policy areas, both at the state and federal level, that impact the population that their department is basically trying to serve.
I understand that. I guess my curiosity comes after having served for now 3-4 years on executive noms, just looking at the deep dive that we do into the resumes, and I guess I'm wondering if there's a harm that we're hoping to correct by this, or if this is...
Well, we did the same thing a week ago with the Department of Health.
I know, I didn't
mean,
love that either.
Some people would say if the person has a college degree, some people would say, well, they don't need that if they've got some experience with some population or if they're very interested. We think that some of these areas in health and aging are two of them, and that's why the committee has acted on that legislation, which is before you, are in such a fluid state at the federal level, and we have to interact so much with the federal government to get the total funding package and to not violate federal policies and to know what the federal directions are for improving the area. Aging is an area that is in great crisis right now nationwide, and given the responsibility to coming out of this pandemic and the elderly populations that have been badly impacted, we need to have somebody who knows what's happening, where to tap right away if there are federal provisions that we could tap into for our state, and how not to spin their wheels doing something that they obviously can't do based on what the federal laws are that impact us as a state.
Now, I appreciate that. As someone who's about to celebrate a birthday in a few months, I absolutely understand the importance of aging and why the committee.
I care about it because I'm a lot older than you are.
But it's just my hope, colleagues, that we don't head down the path where we start prescribing the entire cabinet, because that's why we do have the executive
I
process
don't think
and
there's
stuff.
any attempt to do that. But
Okay.
those two, there's such an interaction between the federal and the state level, and the work going on policy-wise at each level definitely is impacted by what's happening in another direction.
And
if somebody comes in new, let's say with the new administration, and they've got to get up to speed and figure out what's been going on for the last 10 or 12 years and what happened during the pandemic with regard to this population that is so vulnerable, it'll take time that we don't have.
I appreciate that, and I won't say any more because I might give people some ideas for future legislation. So I'll just stop there, Mr. President. Thank you. Thank
All
you,
right.
Madam Chair.
On the bill, Chair recognizes Senator from the 34th District.
Yeah, if the chairman would just yield for a question quickly.
Appears so. Senator may proceed.
Yeah, my question is just, I mean, it has the bachelor's degree. I'm a firm believer in education and pursuing your education, but I know that a lot of folks, particularly mothers, you know, they come out, they start maybe getting their associate's degree, and then because of family, they get sidetracked, and next thing they know, they've got a good job somewhere, and now they're 55 or something, and it's just like, hey, I know my stuff, I've been working in this area for years, they're a great advocate, they know all these qualifications, but then they're booted out simply because they never got that bachelor's degree. Maybe they got a year, 2, 3. You know, going back to the President Pro Tem's point, isn't this something that we could account for before an executive noms? I mean, I just don't like setting these litmus that, hey, you have to have a bachelor's, because the bachelor's could be something totally irrelevant to this area, and I just wouldn't want to cut somebody off from some future governor's consideration who might be like the best advocate we could think of, but they just never got that 4-year degree.
Well, remember, it isn't the degree alone. You do want to know that they can count and they can figure and they can read a report and tell what's in it. So a bachelor degree should help them some. I don't think that's asking too much.
Well,
but remember, it's related to the policy areas and what's going on with federal budgeting that they're going to need to tap into, and to have positions on as to the impact on the state of some of these policy areas if the feds aren't doing the right things by us when something is before the Congress even.
Yeah, in my time down here, I run into folks who are really dynamic advocates. They're accomplished people. They're obviously very intelligent, but then you realize, you know, they never went. Maybe they even have an associate's. They just kind of got sidetracked. Maybe they started working as an aide in the Senate or something, and life moved on. But what we're saying is, if you don't have a bachelor's, these other criteria, they don't matter. You can be the best in everything, but if you don't have that bachelor's,
I have a
you're
sneaking
done.
suspicion, colleague, that there isn't a governor, past, present, or future, that's going to give somebody an entire State Department as important as this if they don't at least have a bachelor's degree.
Oh, that's unfortunate. Thank
I
you.
mean,
I just think it's unfortunate. I think that education is one factor, but there are people, because of life circumstances and maybe just income challenges, had to go in the workforce, and then they just keep on moving through life, and it doesn't hamper them at all. So thank you.
All right, let's hear from the bill sponsor.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I just would like to comment that this bill was patterned after a law that was enacted back in 2004 during the Ehrlich administration. And that is when we added the Department of Disabilities, and we put minimum qualifications in the law in the Human Services article, and that's exactly what this bill is patterned after. And we had those kinds of educational requirements when we did that way back then. And so we're just trying to make sure, as we are headed into the next 20 years of our elderly population growing exponentially, that we have the most qualified folks in leadership positions of course, going forward with the next governor and into the future, that we're prepared to provide the most extensive and well-qualified leadership that we possibly can for all of our constituents. Thank you.
All right, on the report, any further discussion? If not, all in favor of the report say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The favorable committee report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 511 is hereby ordered passed for third reading. All right, just trying to think through timing here. We've got a lot left. Let's do, can we ring the bells, Madam Secretary? Let's do some of these third readers and get them out of the way. All right, let's do a quorum call before third reading calendars.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their presence? So the clerk will take the call. With 44 members in the chamber and a quorum being present, the Senate of Maryland remains in session. We've got a concurrence here that it was on special order. This is special order number 86. Clerk will read the bill.
Senate Bill 269, Senator Kagan, Open Meetings Act, Application and Enhanced Requirements, Maryland State Agency, Transparency Act of 2022. Question is, will the Senate concur in the House amendments?
Chair recognizes the chair of the committee on the amendments.
Thank you, Mr. President. This bill adds several regional and independent development units to the scope of the Open Meetings Act. The House amendments exempt educational tours and site visits from the scope of the Open Meetings Act, given the ability to record and track those activities. It ensures the Public Information Act is not impacted by the provisions. Mr. President, we move EHE will concur with the amendments.
The committee moves that the Senate concur with the House amendments. Any discussion on the amendments? Any objections to the amendments? Without objection, the House amendments are adopted. Senate Bill 269 is now before the body on third reading for final passage. Any discussion? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 46 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 269, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Let's go to the calendar number 23. Clerk will read the first bill. Yes, the calendar. Yes, the calendar.
third reading calendar number 23, consent calendar number 11.
All right, Senators, this is House bills on third reader for final passage. 4 bills. Are there any bills that Senators wish to separate? Chair recognizes the minority leader.
Yes, if we could separate House Bill 186, please.
186 will be separated. Any others? If not, let's take up the calendar first without 186. On third reader for final passage, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 45 votes in the affirmative, bills on consent calendar number 11 having received a constitutional majority are declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 186, Delegate Brooks, Income Tax Subtraction Modification for Centenarians.
Chair recognizes the minority leader on the bill.
Thank you, and I rise in support of this bill, and I welcome tax relief. I'm happy to help those who are over 100 years old. I'm happy to help seniors with tax credits, and I want to publicly thank the governor for trying to eliminate income tax for seniors. But I have to say, as much as I appreciate all the work here, and I voted with everybody, and we had bipartisan, and I'm very thankful for that, but I think we lost an opportunity. We could have done so much more. I hear about $2 billion in tax relief, and I don't know why we pose it that way. It's over 5 years, and I don't think anything we pass was going to stop in 5 years. When you look at it, we set aside $350 million in tax relief, which is great. But when you combine it with last year's $250 million tax increase, it's a net of $100 million. And when you look at the surplus, that's about 1.5% of the surplus. And I have people calling me so excited about the elimination of retirement funds. And they say, tell me the details. And I didn't sit on the committee, so I went and actually looked at the details. And they think they're going to get their taxes removed. And I said, no, you're going to get $1,000. And if you're a couple, you'll get, I think, $1,750. And the problem we were trying to solve was so many seniors were saying, we're leaving or thinking of leaving because the taxes are so high. And I think we're kidding ourselves by saying, we're going to give you $1,000 to stay. Again, I think we missed an opportunity. And I was going to get up here and say about this bill that the good news is that we're eliminating taxes for seniors. The bad news is you have to be 100 to get it. But then I looked at the details, and we're not even eliminating the taxes. It's just up to a threshold. So again, I'm extremely thankful for what this body did. But I think we could have and we should have done much more. So with all that, I'm going to happily vote for this bill. But again, I think we just lost an opportunity. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Senator. Bill is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote?
Mr. President, just to
yes,
explain my
Joe,
vote.
Senator
At least with
Mr.
this tax credit, you would have beat out the death tax you would pay in Maryland. So there's a positive there.
Any further senators wish to explain their vote? Chair recognizes the senator from the capital city.
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to thank the bill sponsor and the bill sponsor in the Senate for bringing this bill up. It's been a couple years now, and the committee, it came in, I believe it came in at the first, eliminating the first $50,000. The committee saw fit that we wanted to do the most we could, so we did up to $100,000. And I have a couple of constituents who are centenarians. I just spent Ms. Pearl in Parole just down the street, just turned 100 a couple weeks back, and actually told her about this bill, and she was incredibly excited. And I appreciate that we want to do everything all the time, but I got to say this bill is one of those, it's not just a feel-good bill, it does good for the seniors in our communities, and I just want to thank the bill sponsor for that. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator. All right, any further senators wish to explain their votes? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 45 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 186, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Let's go to calendar number 24. Clerk will read the first bill.
House Bill 13, Delegate Carr, Procurement, Discriminatory Hiring Practices, Disbarment.
House Bill 13 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 45 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 13, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 252, Delegate Polakovich Carr, Income Tax, Maryland Earned Income Tax Credit Assistance Program for Low-Income Families.
House Bill 252 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 45 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 252, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 289, Delegate Otto, Somerset County, Elections, County Commissioners, Districts, and Board of Education, Candidate Filings. This is an emergency bill.
House Bill 289 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 45 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 289, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 366, Delegate Learman, Office of the Comptroller, Legal Division, and Private Letter Ruling Procedures.
House Bill 366 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 44 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 366, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 399, Prince George's County and Montgomery County delegations, Washington Suburban Sanitary Commission Minority Business Enterprise Utilization Program, termination extension.
House Bill 399 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 45 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 399 having received a constitutional majority is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 483, Delegate Ivy, Homeowners Property Tax Credit, Identification of Eligible Homeowners.
House Bill 483 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 45 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 483 having received a constitutional majority is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 503, Montgomery County Delegation, Montgomery County Board of Education, Resident Districts, Ken Guard Neighborhood. This is an emergency bill.
House Bill 503 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 45 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 503 having received a constitutional majority is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 522, St. Mary's County Delegation, St. Mary's County Tax Sales Auctioneer Expenses.
House Bill 522 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 45 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 522 having received a constitutional majority is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 566, Delegate Boyce, School Construction Design Documents, Waste Disposal Infrastructure.
House Bill 566 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 45 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 566, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Let's go to calendar 25. Clerk will read the first bill.
House Bill 602, Delegate Crosby, Board of Public Works, Sauterley Plantation Operating Grant.
House Bill 602 is on third reading for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 45 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 602 having received a constitutional majority is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 718, Delegate Rogers, Anne Arundel County Local Development Council Delegate Appointments.
House Bill 718 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 45 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 718 having received a constitutional majority is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 809, Delegate Kipke, Property Tax Exemption, Disabled Veterans, Active Duty, and Surviving Spouse Application Process.
House Bill 809 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 45 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 809 having received a constitutional majority is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 1179, Delegate Johnson, State Lottery, Sales of Lottery Tickets and Tickets from Instant Ticket Lottery Machines Commissions.
House Bill 1179 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. 45 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 1179 having received a constitutional majority is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 1186, Delegate Riley, Property Tax Credit, Elderly Individuals, Veterans, and Surviving Spouses Alterations.
House Bill 1186 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 45 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 1186 having received a constitutional majority is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 1312, Delegate Watson, Public Safety, Resilient Maryland Revolving Loan Fund Alterations.
House Bill 1312 is on third reading for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 45 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 1312, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 1400, Delegate McIntosh, Morgan State University, increasing bond principal amount.
House Bill 1400 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 45 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 1400 having received a constitutional majority is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 1473, Prince George's County Delegation, Prince George's County School Board Districts redistricting. This is an emergency bill.
House Bill 1473 is on third reader for final passage. Senators, this is an emergency bill. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 45 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 1473, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Senator, an hour has expired on the layover. If we could pull up that bill. All right, clerk will read the bill.
House Bill 172, Delegate Lukey, income tax subtraction modification, union dues, favorable with one amendment.
All right, question before the body is on the one committee amendment. Any further discussion? Yes, Chair recognizes the senator from the 36th District.
Thank you. Could the floor leader rise for a question, please?
Senator, may proceed.
Absolutely.
Thank you. I just want to make sure I understand. You talked about back and forth with, there was a $300 cap on it, and then that was removed
Yeah,
in the
our
Senate?
amendment takes the cap off.
Okay, so the fiscal note was written with the $300 cap in it. It said that the state would lose about $3 million a year in taxes. The local governments would see a decrease of about $2 million a year. Again, that's with the $300 cap. So
Actually, I checked on that. I checked with the staff. That's not correct. Those numbers are actually in the posture it's in now and as it was originally introduced. I had the same question.
So the fiscal note, because that's the way it's written right now, it talks about the $300 cap.
I understand. I'm just
Okay.
telling you, I checked with staff on that question because I wondered as well.
Okay.
Fiscal Services or Legislative Services believes the 3 million number is the right number for the bill in the posture the committee brought it out.
Okay, so we would see a decrease to the general fund of about $3 million if this goes into place, correct?
Yeah, there'd be $3 million saving for taxpayers.
Well, for union
Working people, yeah.
e-payers,
Yeah,
right?
working people, yeah.
Yeah, so explain that if you could. I'm just not sure I completely understand. So if you are a part of a union, you have a wage, right? Let's say an hourly wage, if we're talking maybe the construction trade.
Or salary.
Or salary, okay, but just so I can understand. And then as part of your, there's deductions that occur for these qualified union expenses, is that right?
That is my understanding. We have several union members who are members who may be able to address this better than I can, but essentially that's right.
Okay, and that's what I was going to ask then, and maybe someone, Mr. President, is that appropriate if somebody could respond to that, or can I just ask in general? But I'm not sure, again, about what percentage of these
It varies
fees
by
are.
union.
It varies? Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. And the calculation of it varies by union. Here, the senator would like to,
With
who is
the
yielding?
senator-
Senator yields to District 6.
District 6, please.
Senator may
Sure.
proceed.
Sometimes it goes by hours. So if you work by hours for a 40-hour week, they would take at least 2 hours of pay for union dues. They do it otherwise for salaries too, but at least it's a 2-hour rate for 40 hours. They would take that union dues out.
And those are for, those are for dues and fees
For
and
dues
assessments?
and fees, probably you have some type of the leaders of administration, a part of the union itself, so they use those funds.
Okay, and now is that negotiable for the employee? I mean, or if they're part of the union, they have to give up 2 hours of pay every year, every week?
As long as you're part of the union, you have to pay the dues. Even those that were getting their hours in to be a part of the union were being represented even before they got the hours in because they were paying dues.
They were paying dues. All right. Mr. President, could the floor leader, senator from Baltimore City?
Sure, let's yield to the senator from Baltimore
Had a
City.
smile on his face, so I know he wants to add something into this.
Nah, just when you commented on it, I'm a member of the IBEW. 3% working dues is what we do, and it's about $4,000 a year.
About what?
$4,000 a year. So it's
I-
3% of your working wages, but it amounts to about $4,000 a year on average.
And this is not negotiable. If you're in the union, you have to pay these dues and fees as a result.
Every year, our contract come up every 3 years, but this is paid from the representation, as the good senator stated. This is paid from the building that we own, things of that nature. Sometimes it's the picnic and things of that nature that we have in order to make sure that our union runs, yes.
Political contributions?
No, not political.
Not allowed to do that
At all,
anymore, right?
at all.
Good. All right, well, that's at least good to hear. Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, my colleague. Mr. President, thank you very much.
All right, on the amendment, any further discussion? If not, all in favor of the amendment say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The one committee amendment is adopted. Question now is on the amended report. Any discussion? If not, all in favor of the report say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The favorable committee report as amended is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, House Bill 172 is hereby ordered passed for third reading. All right, let's go back to these third readers. We've got a Senate bill here, calendar 79.
Senate Bill 740, Senator Elfrith, Public Health Parkinson's Disease Registry Advisory Committee established.
Senate Bill 740 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 44 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 740, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Let's go to third reading calendar number 26. Clerk will read the first bill.
House Bill 178, Delegate Chang, Public Health, Cottage Foods Businesses, Annual Revenues.
House Bill 178 is on third reader for final passage. Any further discussion? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 45 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 178, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 378, Delegate Kerr, Maryland Health Care Commission Palliative Care Services Work Group.
House Bill 378, third reader, final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Wish to change, explain? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 45 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 378, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 400, Prince George's County and Montgomery County Delegations, Washington Suburban Sanitary Commission, Hiring and Promotion Preferences, Veterans and Their Spouses.
House Bill 400 is on third reading for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 45 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 400, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 536, Delegate Pendergrass, Maryland Insurance Commissioner Authority, Federal Health Emergency. This is an emergency bill.
House Bill 536 is on third reader for final passage. This is an emergency bill. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Everyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 45 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 536, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 926, Delegate Valderrama, Vehicle Laws, Mechanical Repair Contracts, Insurance Reserves.
House Bill 926 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 31 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 926, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 962, Delegate Carey, Commercial Law, Maryland Personal Information Protection Act revisions.
House Bill 962 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 45 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 962, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 1073, Delegate Cullison, Health, Accessibility of Electronic Advanced Care Planning Documents.
House Bill 1073 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 45 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 1073, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 1340, Montgomery County Delegation, Montgomery County Economic Development Business Improvement Districts.
House Bill 1340 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 45 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 1340, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 1397, Delegate Pena-Melnick, Health Insurance, Prescription Insulin Drugs, Limits on Co-Payment and Co-Insurance, Insulin Cost Reduction Act.
House Bill 1397 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 45 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 1397, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. All right, 27. Clerk will read the first bill.
House Bill 4, Delegate Watson, Unemployment Insurance, Recovery of Benefits, Refund of Payments.
House Bill 4 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 45 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 4, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 97, Delegate Ampry, Work Group on Black, Latino, Asian American, Pacific Islander, and other underrepresented behavioral health professionals.
House Bill 97 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 46 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 97, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 128, Delegate Lopez, Debt Settlement Services, Student Education Loan Debt Relief, Disclosures, and Prohibitions.
House Bill 128 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 33 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 128, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 213, Delegate Kelly, Health Information Exchanges, Definition and Privacy Regulations.
House Bill 213 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 46 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 213, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 247, Delegate Resnick, Insurance, Medicare Supplement Policies, Open Enrollment Period following birthday.
House Bill 247 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 46 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 247, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 353, Delegate Landis, Maryland Healthcare Commission, User Fee Assessments.
House Bill 353 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 30 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 353, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 775, Delegate McIntosh, Maryland Pediatric Cancer Fund Establishment and Income Tax Checkoff.
House Bill 775 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 46 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 775, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 820, Delegate Carr, Health Insurance, Pediatric, Autoimmune, Neuropsychiatric Disorders, Modification of Coverage Requirements.
House Bill 820 is on third reading for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 46 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 820, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 900, Delegate McKay, Death Certificates, Fees, First Responders Killed in the Line of Duty.
House Bill 900 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 46 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 900, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. We'll do number 28. Clerk will read the first bill.
House Bill 193, Dorchester County Delegation, Motor Vehicle Registration Exceptions for Electric Golf Carts, Hooper Islands, and Taylor's Island.
House Bill 193 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 46 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 193, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 206, Delegate Moon, Vehicle Laws, Licenses and Permits, Prohibited Acts.
House Bill 206 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 46 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 206, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 374, Delegate Krim, Maryland School for the Deaf, Professional Personnel and Staff Service Designation, Assignment, and Placement in a Collective Bargaining Unit.
House Bill 374 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 46 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 374, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 645, Delegate Jackson, Hate Crimes, False Statement to a Law Enforcement Officer.
House Bill 645 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 46 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 645, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 842, Calvert County Delegation, Calvert County Hotel Rental Tax, Distribution of Revenue.
House Bill 842 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 46 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 842, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 914, Calvert County Delegation, Calvert County Procurement Award of Multi-Year Contracts.
House Bill 914 is on third reading for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 46 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 914, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 930, Delegate Stein, Senator William H. Amos, Fire, Rescue, and Ambulance Funds, Property Acquisition and Construction of Facilities.
House Bill 930 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 46 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 930, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 1249, Delegate Beitzel, Libraries, Capital Projects, State Share Adjustments.
House Bill 1249 is on third reading for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 46 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 1249, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 1444, Delegate Wilkins, Income Tax Credit Endowment of Maryland Historically Black Colleges Extension.
House Bill 1444 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 46 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 1444, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. All right, we're going to do one more. We'll do one more. This is 29. Clerk will read the first bill.
House Bill 16, Delegate Lehman, Crimes, Unattended Dogs, Extreme Weather Conditions, and Heat.
House Bill 16 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 46 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 16, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 83, Delegate Atterbury, Family Law, Authorization for a Minor to Marry.
House Bill 83 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 45 votes in the affirmative. House Bill 83, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 148, Delegate Bartlett, Criminal Law Stalking Definition.
House Bill 148 is on third reading for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 46 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 148, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 153, Delegate Crutchfield, Criminal Law, Sexual Crimes, Repeal of Spousal Defense.
House Bill 153 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll. Oh, sorry. Chair recognizes the senator from the 34th District.
Yeah, just if the chairman, quick question for the chairman on this one.
Senator may proceed.
Yeah, so pulling it up, this matches, this is now the same bill, matches the Senate bill now, right?
That's correct. We're going to go to conference eventually on this.
Right, but it is so far. Thank you.
That's correct.
Appreciate it.
All right, third reading, final passage. Any further discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. 46 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 153, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 284, Delegate Crutchfield, Criminal Procedure, Out-of-Court Statements, Child Victims and Witnesses.
House Bill 284 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 45 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 284, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 349, Delegate Moon, Small Claims Examination and Aid of Enforcement, Prohibition on Arrest or Incarceration for Failure to Appear.
House Bill 349 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 31 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 349, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 369, Delegate Bill Castro, Marriage Records, Name Change.
House Bill 369 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 43 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 369, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 870, Delegate Foley, Vehicle Towing or Removal, Secured Parties, Electronic Notification.
House Bill 870 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 46 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 870, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 996, Delegate Brooks, Corporation and Associations, Ratification of Defective Corporate Acts.
House Bill 996 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 46 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 996, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 1248, Delegate Valentino Smith, Child Abuse and Neglect, Investigation, Timeliness.
House Bill 1248 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 46 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 1248, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. All right, we're going to put a pin in it there for the work, but we do have another celebratory moment before we adjourn today. And as we were able to do yesterday with the senator from District 3, this morning we are celebrating the incredible public service of the senator from District 26, from Prince George's County, Obie Patterson. So all of us know the senator very, very well, of course, but he has been a part of our Senate since 2019, and please, Senator, please join us. Previously served in the House from 1995 through 2007, and of course took a little break, a little stint from the Maryland General Assembly to go serve in Prince George's County for the county council, where he represented District 8 from 2010 to 2018. So had the delegate to council to Senate story, which is quite the perspective. He is our Deputy Majority Whip. He's a member of the Education, Health, and Environmental Affairs Committee, serves as the Senate Chair of the Joint Committee on Gaming Oversight, and he's also a member of the Executive Nominations Committee, the State Park Investment Commission. He's a member of the Joint Committee on Children, Youth, and Families, and the Senate President's Advisory Work Group on Equity and Inclusion, the Commission on Environmental Justice and Sustainable Communities. You know, it was a little bit uncertain where the senator was going to, what his decision may be, and I had an awkward call with him where I said, Senator, we really want to celebrate you, but I don't want to celebrate you if you don't want to be celebrated. So there are those of us who choose retirement and those who don't. The senator has chosen to hang up his boots for greener pastures. I do want to say, just as a quick aside, just as a quick story this past interim. You know, there are all of us have special places in our district, and Senator Patterson, if the body will excuse using his name, said, you know, I really need you to come down and see Fort Washington Medical Center. And I'd heard of it. It was, you know, it's a smaller hospital, and of course there's been all the hullabaloo, rightfully so, about the brand new Prince George's University of Maryland hospital. But there are these smaller regional hospitals that still are in many of our communities that often sort of have an oversight. And I said, you know, if it's important to you, it's important to me. Let's find a time and we'll go down. And, you know, I was blown away. I was blown away by not only the relationship that Senator Patterson had with the hospital staff, with the patients that were there, but just the passion that he had for improving assets in his district, and just the fight that he has shown on justice, on equality. And this one hospital is just one core example. This year he's going to be bringing home, I think it's about almost $4 million to Fort Washington Medical Center to help make those improvements. And it's this type of dogged passion that was developed from the House of Delegates to going to County Council and seeing that local government work, to then coming here in the Senate and delivering for his constituents. So without further ado, I would like to welcome Senator Patterson to give us a few remarks and reflections. Thank you.
All right, this is it. Mr. President, Madam President Pro Tem, my esteemed colleagues, good morning, and good morning to all. Good afternoon now, I'm sorry. I am grateful and delighted to have this opportunity to share a few reflections on my very blessed career as a member of this great body. I began my journey over 27 years ago when I first arrived here in Annapolis as a state delegate. And one of the very first assignments we had was taking this 3-day bus tour throughout the great state of Maryland. We had so much fun until some of the participants wanted to know if we could come back the second year and do it all over again. But that was not going to be the case. But one thing that I think all of us will remember who was part of this great tour was that when we got back on the Eastern Shore, the Correctional Center staff, they had prepared lunch for all of us, some 80 of us who was traveling throughout the state for lunch. And I just wanted to go on record as saying, never, never again. That honestly was, and I hope there's no reflection on those who represent the southern part of the state, but we just had a hard time getting it down. Again, and I'll leave it there. We had a very large group who started out with us. In fact, it might have been the largest group of all. We had 64 members, both the House and the Senate. And we got through the tour and everything. And my first assignment to a committee here, most of you have never heard this name. It was called the Commerce and Government Matters Committee. I can't use the delegate. I don't say it anyway. But you know, during that time, that was the time when it was so great to be a legislator. Not that it's not fun now, but that was work and fun. So we sort of missing out a little bit on the fun area, but we had a great time. And again, I feel extremely blessed to have worked with so many great leaders from all corners of our great state. I've experienced such great joy working in partnership with many of you. And it has truly been the greatest opportunity one could ever ask for as a public servant. I'd like to think my time here in this chamber was one where I tried to help others. And as you look at my legislation, you probably would note that it's centered around helping others. And that's why I wanted to serve. That's why I did serve. And I'm glad that I did hopefully make a contribution to this great state and all the people who live within. I've had some wonderful times with this body. We had some tough times around and about. But you know, that's part of the game. You win some, you lose some. But you pick up your marbles and you come back and you shoot another day. So I just want all of you to know that I've been around, yes. I've had some fun, yes. I'm going to still have some fun, yes. While I might not be a candidate in 2022, I plan to be one of the most active campaigners you will ever find out there. This is, I don't know how political I can be here, but this is very critical. And I want to make sure that those who have similar vision and mission get together, work together, and hopefully come out on the winning end. So I'll just stop there. And just as I close, some of you probably been asking me, well, what are you going to do? Well, my goodness, I've worked 57 years, okay? I might just want to stop and rest, but that is not the case. I want you to know that I will be working, I will be sleeping late, I'll be traveling, I'll be enjoying my family, and of course, I will be working in what I consider my blue ribbon community garden, okay? I love gardening, and I can't wait to get out so I can get my soil all tilled and get out there in the backyard and enjoy growing some fresh and clean vegetables. So again, I just want to let you know that this is probably going to be it political-wise. Somebody told me, actually, well, hopefully you've been a delegate. Yes. You served on the county council. Yes. You back now as a state senator. Yes. Well, what you gonna do now? You gonna end up over in the big house? I said, no, I don't think so. But it's been great, and all of you have been anything but the best when we had to work together, play together, even fight a little bit together. And the one committee that I enjoyed most that we served on, that I served on, was the one, the Wealth and the Healthcare and Inclusion Committee that was that the Senate President appointed. That was very good. We got down, Madam Speaker, President Pro Tem, we got down in the weeds. And we came away with what I would think was an excellent document for this body, other bodies in the future to consider making it part of our overall mission. So thank you, I love you, and I'm still going to be out there with you. Thank you very much.
We have your gift. So, Senator, just as we did for our other, see if I can get this. Sorry. Just as we did before, and feel free, it is the same watercolor picture of the State House, so that when you are tilling in the garden and come home and have that nice lemonade afterwards, that you will not forget us and you'll be staying in touch. So on behalf of all of the senators, we wish you the best in your retirement and leave you with this token of appreciation to thank you and not forget us.
All right.
Excellent. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. May I just introduce my chief of staff, who's been with me for 3 years, C.T. Jackson, and coincidentally, today is his birthday. Thank you.
Happy birthday. Happy birthday. Yes, Chair recognizes Senator from the 37th.
Thank you very much. I would just like to say, can I use the senator's
Senator
name?
may proceed.
Senator Patterson and I are proud members of the incoming class of 1994. And we did have a very exciting opportunity to go to ECI on our 4 or 5 day trip. It seemed like it was a whole week. And I can assure you that the food is much better now. So if you would like to come back and tour the facility, I will be glad to go with you to lunch. But more importantly, that was our first year, and we had a big fight. If you remember, and I want to know, are you still getting crabs and oysters from the Roads Board in Dorchester County? Because that was quite a battle. But we were able to fight on that bill. We put some things to bed after a while, and then we had the opportunity to work together on the Health Equity and Inclusion Committee, and that was a wonderful opportunity. So thank you very much, Senator Patterson, for your years of service.
Thank
It's
you.
greatly appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you for those reflections. Yes, Chair recognizes Senator from the 23rd District.
Thank you, Mr. President. You know, I really have to say something about permission to use the senator's name.
Senator may proceed.
Senator O.B. Patterson. We met 20 years ago. We used to tailgate at with the Washington teams for about 10 years. And one day he said, you know what, you seem to be a pretty sharp guy. I want you to come hang out with me. And he took me to all these, I didn't know what a delegate was. And he took me to all these functions, all these events, and somehow he twisted my arm and talked me into running for the school board. And that was about 15, 16 years ago. I owe a lot to this man. He's a friend, he's a mentor, he's my fraternity brothers. And for the fraternity brothers who are here, we salute you. We thank you for all you've done and all you're going to continue to do. And I will tell you, you make 84 look good. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President.
Well said. Well said. Well said. Yes, Chair recognizes Senator from the 27th.
Thank you, Mr. President, colleagues. I met Senator Patterson. Permission to use the senator's name.
Senator may proceed.
When he was a member of the House of Delegates, and I was coming off of my Fraternal Order of Police leadership, and I was running for sheriff, and I met Senator Patterson in the community, and I would tell you that I would never forget that delegation from Prince George's County, much of it led by Senator Patterson, who visited once I got elected, who visited the dismal headquarters that our agency had in our county, and we needed a champion here in Annapolis. And Senator Patterson was one of the ones who showed up at our doorsteps and up in Marlboro, Maryland, and made sure that he was part of that crusade to get that done for us. I've had the pleasure of serving on that board at Fort Washington Hospital, so we've had many conversations over the years, and his wisdom has been, he has been gracious enough to impart some wisdom on me, somewhat of a quarterly basis. Senator Patterson and myself and some business and political leaders from the county, we kind of sit down and break some bread. I can't get him out of his district though, so he makes me go to National Harbor for that session, but not a bad spot. But look, we love you. You are one of our mentors. You have served in every governmental capacity as a legislator, and so you actually get it. And you've always opened that door for us. So we'll see you on the campaign trail, obviously. So thank you, Mr. President, colleagues.
Thank you, Senator. All right, senators, it's nice to end on those happy notes. Chair recognizes Senator from Prince George's.
Thank you, Mr. President. You know, I'm going to use the senator's
Senator,
name,
may
if I
proceed.
may. Senator Obie Patterson and I go way back. As a matter of fact, what you all don't know is that he was very actively involved in the civil rights movement. He had a passion for people and what was right and just. And we traveled along that path. But as I think about it, Obie and I visited the sheriff's office, and what we saw was unbelievable. As a matter of fact, as a result of our visit, both of us became ill, and we had to be on bed rest for a while because it was just the conditions that those people had to work under. And so he and I vowed that we would work to make a change. And believe me when I tell you, the change was made. So they were moved out of the sheriff's department down on 301. I really want to thank my great friend, Obie Patterson, for the friendship that we have had through the years. There's not too many days gone by where I have gone in the office and screamed to tell him not to leave. I said, "Oh, don't leave me down here." He said, "No, I have other things to do." I can tell you, you won't believe what he told me, but I'll keep that as a secret. But he does have a plan where he's going to do what he feels like doing. And one is taking care of, first of all, his health. And the second thing is to spend time with his family. He has grandchildren that he deeply loves. And he's been working in the vineyard for over 50 years, but he also worked with corrections. He served on the Board of Corrections and was very wonderful in helping people by giving them a second chance. He worked hard to give certain ones that came across his pathway an opportunity to live for that second chance, which is the reason why we felt so compelled to put a bill in that would address that, because I think everybody deserves a second chance. And if we think about some of the things we did, we're so thankful that we got that second chance. He has been the vice chair of the Prince George's Senators. There's not a decision that was made that he and I did not sit down to talk about. And while we didn't always agree, we were able to reach a consensus. And when we opened the door, we were the best of friends. And we will always be friends. He's active in his church. He serves as an usher in his church. And so I could go on and on talking about this wonderful, wonderful, impeccably dressed. Y'all see how he dressed? Wonderfully dressed, sharp, wonderful man. And so I want him to know that I appreciate and value his friendship. And I just want to thank you, Mr. President, for recognizing this giant of a gentleman, and also the wonderful senator from Frederick. Just wonderful. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Senator. All right, thank you. Let's do committee announcements. Chair recognizes the Chair of Finance. Senator from Anne Arundel. Hold just one moment. Senator from Anne Arundel.
Mr. President, I've been down here 16 years, and this is the first time I've asked for a suspension of the rules. But, Mr. President, I have a bill that I'd like to enter into the record that is very important to my district.
All right, the senator has made a motion to suspend the rules to introduce a late filed bill. Question is on the motion. If the senator wants to explain the bill so that senators know what the underlying issue is.
Thank you, Mr. President. So first, I did request the bill on March 11th, and apparently it got stuck in the review process, and we finally found it on Monday, so I apologize that it's this late. But this has to do with the maglev and the construction of it through my district. But we thought it was going to be fine until the courts ruled on March 4th that eminent domain would be allowed by the BWRR. And so what this bill would do is say that if they use eminent domain to purchase property to build this train, that they will have to pay a premium of 25% over the purchase price into a local development council that will be used in a 5-mile district, 5-mile circle radius of where the project is being constructed. This project comes directly through my entire district, from the north end to the west, and I really appreciate the support to introduce this bill today. Thank you.
All right, question is on this, whether to suspend the rules. Any discussion on the senator's motion? If not, all in favor of the motion say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The rules haven't been suspended. The clerk will read the bill.
Senate Bill 1013, Senator Bidle, Transportation, Magnetic Levitation Transportation Systems, Rapid Rail Local Development Councils.
All right, bill will be referred to the Standing Committee on Rules. All right, Chair recognizes the Chair of Finance.
Thank you. Finance will meet at 2:15 for voting.
All right, 2:15 for voting for Finance. Chair recognizes the Chair of Education, Health, and Environmental Affairs.
Education, Health, and Environmental Affairs will meet at 1:45 for voting. We currently have 33 bills on our voting list, and we may have more.
All right, Chair recognizes the Chair of Budget and Tax.
We will meet at 1:30 for voting.
1:30. All right, Chair recognizes the Chair of Judicial Proceedings.
Thank you, Mr. President. We'll meet at 2:15 in the committee room for voting.
All right, 2:15. Any other standing committee announcements? If not, let's do other general announcements. Yes, Chair recognizes the Senator from Western Maryland.
Thank you, Mr. President. I wanted to do this for years. Delegation announcement. The District 1 Senate delegation will meet in room 323 in James, which they've done for years when we're not on the floor or in committee. Everybody's invited.
All right, excellent. That's great. Yes, Senator from Anne Arundel.
Thank you, Mr. President. I've been directed that I should ask to suspend the rules to...
I don't know if that would be the best idea, but is that what the Senator would like to do?
Well, Senate Bill 1013, can it be moved directly to committee, please?
Senator is moving to suspend the rules to move directly to committee. This is not something we would traditionally do. So if the Senator would like us to take a vote, we can take a vote. All right, to go directly to any discussion? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote? Explain their vote? Yes, Chair recognizes the Senator.
I'm sorry, but I'd like to meet with the Prince
Oh,
George's.
Senator, we're in the midst of a vote. Hold on. We have 2 minutes to change our vote. Any further discussion? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 37 votes in the affirmative, the rules having been suspended, the bill will be referred directly to committee. All right, any further announcements?
Mr. President.
Further announcements?
Mr. President.
Nope. Yes, Chair recognizes Minority Leader.
Yeah, I just wanted to let the body know we're having a caucus luncheon right after session to honor those who are not coming back that we know of. Anybody else that wants to join the caucus is welcome to come over. It's right afterwards.
Excellent. Chair recognizes the Senator from Anne Arundel.
Thank you, Mr. President. Not to disrupt the luncheon activities, but I would like to ask the Anne Arundel County Senators to just stay behind on the floor for no more than 5 minutes to discuss 2 bills.
All right.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Any further? Yes, Senator from Prince George's.
Thank you, Mr. President. If I could ask the Prince George's senators to meet me right here for about 5 minutes, that would be wonderful.
Prince George's, right after. All right,
Thank
any further? If not, let's do a quorum call before we adjourn.
Mr. President.
Has everyone recorded their presence? So the clerk will take the call. With 46 votes in the affirmative and a quorum being present, the Senate of Maryland remains in session. Chair recognizes the Majority Leader.
Yes, Mr. President, I move the Senate of Maryland stand adjourned until Thursday at 10 a.m.
Thursday at 10 a.m. Without objection, so ordered.